Does it make sense to store your antiques, artwork, and other estate items, or what other options are available? This week on Behind the Gavel with Jason, we're going to be talking about storing your objects or what else you can do with them. This is a question and a problem and a concern that we see regularly here at the Casey Auction Company. In fact, just this week, I was at a storage facility with a lovely lady and her items that she had been storing for at least 5 years. And so why was she storing it? Why would you store antiques and artwork? And if you have questions about this as we're going on, please post them below and we're happy to answer them. But we see this regularly, and somebody's taken an estate or their personal items and decided, hey, let's put them in a storage unit. I don't know what to do with them today. I'm going to go ahead and store them, and we'll figure out what we're going to do with them later, which sounds like a great idea. And sometimes it makes a lot of sense. But this woman is paying $350 a month for her storage units. That's over $4,000 a year. And she's been paying it for over 5 years, which is over $20,000 she's paid to store pieces that honestly are worth several $1,000s. So what would drive somebody, what would implore somebody to store their items when they could do other things with them? And as I wanted to do, I did some research on the storage industry real quick. 1 in 11 Americans pay for storage space outside of their home. Of those, like 63% of those people have a house with storage in this house. They have a garage and basement they could store anyway. But 1 in 11 Americans are paying for storage space. It's a $38 billion industry, growing at about 8% annually. The national average is $91 a month. In Kansas City, the average for storage units are $110 a month. There's 2.3 billion square feet. And here's the kicker. So for all of you that do store, 155,000 units are sold at auction every year. So Storage Wars and those types of shows are all based on reality. If you do not pay on your storage facility, at some point you'll receive letters in the mail, and at some point they will sell them via auction. And then you've spent all this money and you have nothing to show for it at the end. And 52% of people rent space for more than a year. And so you have to, if you look at it that way, in Kansas City at $110 a month, you're spending close to $1,300 a month on average for storage. And most people don't store anything worth more than hundreds of dollars or a couple of $1,000s at most. So what are some reasons why, or what would be an appropriate time to store? Wow, all the feels. Stacy, hi, Tamitha, thanks for watching. If you have questions, please post them below. So what would be a good reason to use a storage facility for your antiques and art? Well, if you're moving, if you're selling a house and it's a very defined time frame, then it's a great idea. If you're going to use it for 2 months or 3 months or even a year for things that you can't readily replace, then it might make sense. If those items are worth more than what you're going to spend to store them, then it absolutely makes more sense. If you are just procrastinating, then that is when you really have to look hard and say, if I just put the stuff in a dumpster and took the $110 a month and put it into a 401k and a 5% return, in 5 years, you're going to have everything you'd have put in the storage facility plus another 10% or so, 10 to 15%. And so your $5,000 is going to be almost $6,000, $5,500 to $6,000. And then you actually have something you can do something with, as opposed to making somebody else successful and rich by just storing your objects. We rarely suggest to people to store for a long term. And when I say long term, I say anything over 3 months. If you think if you have a hard asset change coming up, like I said, if you're selling a house or moving, and you're going to get back to it in a short time frame, then it absolutely makes sense to store your items because you're going to go right back to them. But when you're talking about you're just not sure, you kind of feel guilty for selling it or donating it, really look at financially what's important to you and your family. Does it make sense to spend over $1,000 a year to store things that once they're in that storage unit, you're not going to look at them. You're not going to go out of your way to go visit them. You're not going to do anything except send in the check. And most storage facilities have made it really easy. You sign up for automatic bill pay, and you never really see the money leaving. You just know what's going out. And so it just becomes another, well, they were $110, but oh well, I don't have to deal with this month. Oh, they were another $110. I don't have to deal with this month. And you can start doing that. All of a sudden, like I said, it's $1,300 a year, or in the case of that one lady I met this week, $4,000 a year she's spending on items that are worth about $4,000, and she spent 20 grand storing $5,000 worth of stuff. And the other thing that happens, and not all the time, but often enough, is storage facilities are really quite secure. They're really quite environmentally friendly, safe, in that there's sealed facilities. They usually are waterproof, watertight. But I have seen many times going to a storage facility, and the unit that I'm going to look at is a nice clean unit, but the unit next to it was dirty, and they had cockroaches that go to the storage units next to them. And so all of a sudden you have this, great antique furniture that's infested with bugs and mice. I've seen somebody go into a storage facility with a Diet Coke and lunch because they're on Subway, and they absentmindedly leave the crumbs there, and of course it attracts bugs and animals. And I've seen great things destroyed in storage facilities because it's out of sight, out of mind. And if it's just sitting there, you're not going to go back and check on it regularly. And so once destruction starts to happen, it gets worse. Most storage facilities, unless you're paying more, are not climate controlled. So if you're putting antique furniture or antique paintings in a non-climate controlled storage facility, I mean, the last month in Kansas City, we've had 90-degree weather and we've had 10-degree weather. Well, that's just absolutely wreaking havoc on joints of furniture, on veneers, on the paintings. That's making them crackle and lose their integrity. And so not only are you spending money every month, you're losing value every month because the items you're storing are getting in worse condition. Nothing gets better in storage. It might stay the same, but nothing improves in condition or in quality or in appearance being in storage. It never does. It absolutely never gets better. At best, it stays the same, but more often than not, it degrades to some degree, whether that's, like I said, infestation or changing climates, changes the structure of the piece, bugs, whatever it might be. You're losing value and you're spending money to lose value. It's a terrible investment. So our suggestion is to absolutely avoid paying storage unit costs for your antiques, artwork, and estate items unless there's just an outside factor that you cannot control. Most people don't have that. So again, real quick update. I'm going to cut this short. Next week is Thanksgiving. We're really trying to wrap some things up here at the office and get going. We got some really great things coming up. Working with KCPT again. We're going to make a quick announcement now, and I'll make some more announcements over the next week or so. But on Monday, November 26th, here from 7 to 8:30 on KCPT during Antiques Roadshow, we'll be hosting a live pledge drive for the station for the KCPT Fine Art and Antique Appraisal Fair. Yeah, we're really excited about it. Watch our Facebook page for details coming up, Behind the Gavel with Jason's Facebook page. And we're going to start running some promotional videos for that here shortly. And of course, we'll be including that in our emails and posts here. But again, we think that storage facilities are great for a really short-term, defined, specific purpose. If you know you're going to get back to those items in 2 months or 3 months or even 6 months, it might make sense to pay for the storage facility so that you can get those other things accomplished. But if you're using it as a hit, as a crutch, as I'll get to it someday, you're going to spend thousands of dollars to store things you're never going to look at and see and use again, and they're going to get worse condition as you do it. And we feel that it's a great business to be in. I've thought about opening up storage facilities myself, but from an individual's perspective, 1 out of 11 Americans, 9% of our population rents a storage facility today at an average of, the average national average is $91 a month. In bigger cities, it gets more. I think in San Francisco, it's close to $200 a month is the average price for a storage facility. So you want to make sure that you have a very defined idea of what you want to store, how long you need to store it, and keep track of it and tabs on it so that it is actually making you money or making sense for you financially and emotionally that you're doing it, and not just as a crutch or as a passing it down the road. Because at some point, like I said, 155,000 storage units were sold at auction last year for an average price of $425. So everything that you're storing, average, on the average, is going to bring $400 for what you spent thousands of dollars to store. So that's kind of it. Have a great weekend. We will not be live next week. It's Thanksgiving. I will probably post something, but it won't be a live video shot. We'll be probably driving at this point next Friday. Again, watch our Facebook website for information about the KCPT fundraiser coming up. And we have the Linister auction online right now, and the Sabatez auction is coming up immediately thereafter. We have a great 2018 wrapping up. We will have sold over 900 paintings in 2018 alone. We're really excited about that number, and excited about where 2017 is going to, or 2019 is lining out. So thank you all so much for watching. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon.